Grace and peace to you. Yesterday in worship, we kicked off this year's stewardship drive, which we're calling Grace Happens, as we pay attention to the ways that we experience God's givingness in our lives. We believe that grace happens daily in our lives, minute by minute even. And so we're focusing this year on the ways that we experience that grace in our lives, the ways we experience what God has given us, and then thinking some about how are we called to respond to that. And so over the next month or so, I'll probably talk about stewardship theology and money to some extent. And part of that is because I believe that the way that we interact with wealth and the way we use our money is an integral part of our call as Christian disciples. And if you don't believe me, you can ask Jesus, who talks about money all the time, especially here in Luke's gospel that we've been going through this year. You've probably noticed Jesus is talking about money all the time. In fact, the thing that Jesus talks about most in the Bible is the kingdom of God or the kingdom of heaven. Second to that is money. Jesus talks second most about wealth and money and how it is that we're supposed to engage those things. And primarily his call is to give it all away, which is a lucrative idea for us here in 2019 America. But Jesus's call is a call of unified discipleship and of complete commitment to the call of Christ. And he talks at length about how money is perhaps the biggest stumbling block to that our difficulty when we try to both serve God but also serve money or also keep our money. And so it creates a difficult conversation about how can we be financially responsible for our lives and for the lives of our family and whatever other needs that we have, right? That giving away literally everything I have would be a pretty extreme thing, and it would have some pretty big implications not only on me, but on my two young children, right? And so we do wonder how it is that we can do this, and yet I think the bottom line of the call is to not let money become a greater concern to us than God's kingdom. There's a reason why, even more than money, Jesus talks of the kingdom, and that is because our focus, our number one thing that we're always thinking about is how is it that we are engaging in the work that God is doing to bring about a world that looks more like the order that God has intended for it. But how we engage with money is certainly a big part of how we live out that call. And so how is it that we can use our money, be stewards of our money, be stewards of our wealth, to not hoard it, not build it up for ourselves, but to consider it one of the many gifts that God has given us, not something that we have earned through our labor or earned through our years of education or work or whatever it's taken to get it, but to think of it instead as a gift from God specifically to do the work of building God's kingdom. And so I think that does include an amount of caring for ourselves and caring for our families, but somewhere there's a line where caring for ourselves becomes excessive and becomes a higher priority than caring for others and caring for God's kingdom, and that is where we run into trouble. And so how is it that we can properly think about our relationship with money and God's ministry and appropriately use our God-given resources for the betterment of not just ourselves, but the betterment of our neighbor in need, our community, the community in which we live, the community in which the church is serving, and through that, the whole world. And so that's the conversation that I'm hoping we can have over the next month or so, and we'll do that in worship and in Sunday school, and also probably here in some of these videos. So a little food for thought this morning, and hopefully you're still willing to stick around as we talk about this more in the coming weeks. Remember that you are loved, and God's peace be with you.